In the early hours of September 24, 2025, a lone gunman perched on a rooftop in Dallas opened fire on an ICE facility, killing one detainee, critically wounding others, and then turning the weapon on himself. What motivated this attack? Who was behind it? And what does it say about the rising tensions around immigration enforcement in America?
Reports say 3 people have been critically injured at a Dallas ICE facility after shots rang out this morning.
Police responded to calls around 7 a.m. local time. Agents reportedly approached the suspect, who then apparently shot himself.
Today, we dig into every angle. Around 6:40 a.m. local time, a shooter armed with a rifle opened fire from a rooftop toward a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE facility in Dallas. The gunfire was directed at a van in the Sally Port, the secure entry area, where detainees were being transferred. 3 detainees were struck. 1 was killed at the scene. 2 others were critically injured and rushed to hospital. The shooter was later found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Law enforcement identified the suspect as Joshua Jahn, aged 29. Records suggest he lived in the Dallas area and possibly had ties to Oklahoma. Little is publicly known about his motives, affiliations, or prior violent history.
Shots were fired into the Sally Port of this facility along the freeway there in Dallas, and the ICE confirms that the shooter is down, a self-inflicted wound, and that 3 individuals have been hit. Their condition unknown. We're continuing to try and learn more about this as you look live here and can see the tremendous law enforcement response. But ICE telling me in no clearer way that they call this, quote, a clear attack on ICE. Now, this comes as we have seen a more than 1,000% increase of assaults on ICE officers. And now this morning, tragically, we're learning that this shooter apparently fired.
Investigators recovered shell casings marked with anti-ICE, suggesting the attack was directed specifically against ICE. The Department of Homeland Security, DHS, described the gunfire as indiscriminate, meaning the shooter was not necessarily picking individual targets, but firing across the facility. No ICE personnel or staff were reported injured in the attack. The FBI is treating the incident as a targeted act of violence, though no definitive connections to any organized group have been confirmed. DHS issued a statement condemning the shooting, calling it an attack on ICE law enforcement. On social media and in statements, political leaders immediately pointed fingers. President Donald Trump blamed radical left Democrats for stoking anti-ICE sentiment. Some Democrats countered that the incident was being used for political points, and cautioned against rushing to conclusions before motives are fully known. The presence of anti-ICE markings on bullet casings strongly suggests the shooter had ideological or political motivation rather than it being a random act. That no ICE staff were injured may indicate the shooter intended to target detainees specifically or lacked precise aiming, though we must be cautious about interpreting intent without full evidence. The rapid politicization of the event, leaders assigning blame before investigation concludes, is typical in high-profile incidents. This can complicate objective understanding and fuel division. This incident is not isolated. Earlier in 2025, other ICE facilities in Texas were targeted, for example in Alvarado. The uncertainty around the suspect's motive, background, and affiliations underscores how difficult it is to assess whether this was the act of a lone individual or part of a larger movement. In closing, this is a tragic event with real human costs. At least 1 life was lost, and 2 more were left fighting for survival. The fact that the shooter left behind a message, anti-ICE, raises deep questions about political violence, ideology, law enforcement, and the line between dissent and extremism. Now I want to hear from you. Given that the evidence points to a politically motivated attack, how should authorities balance security and surveillance with preserving civil liberties? And what role should public discourse, rhetoric play in either escalation or de-escalation of such tensions?